Why do you have to be such a cunt? One of my favorite subgenres of film is, the youth in peril films that were so abundant in my youth. All kinds of films that revolved around one thing, really. A young kid going through one hell of a time. Growing up too early, if you will. Facing the real world too early, etc. Films like the classic 400 Blows that kind of set the standard. Or harsher takes like Made in Britain. To more light-hearted yet heavy-handed affairs like one of my all-time favorite movies, Lucas, and the underappreciated Joe the King from Frank Whaley, just to name a few.
Will you shut the fuck up?
But somewhere in there, mixed up in all the nuance and adult themes of, that were being balanced ever so perfectly, was the awkward Dawn Wiener. And Welcome to the Dollhouse was where I first became hip to these kind of movies, and the magic of Todd Solondz. So for those not hip to the story.
I actually moved out, that is to say out of the film business for a while. I had applied to the Peace Corps. I was rejected by the Peace Corps. I suppose if I harbor any resentments, it's not towards anyone in Hollywood, but the Peace Corps. But then an opportunity arose to have another shot at a low-budget film, and I ultimately, I suppose I made the decision to make another movie so that the first one wouldn't have the last word. Welcome
to the Dollhouse is one very harsh and cynical take on the tale, and well-deserved so, as it all makes for one of the most heartbreaking films ever made. And if you're into that kind of stuff, well, hey, welcome to the Dollhouse.
Are you alright, Troy? Leave me alone, wiener dog.
Tonight we're joined by none other than Brendan Sexton III, who played the formidable Brandon McCarthy in the film, as we look back at 1995's classic coming-of-age dark comedy.
So welcome to the Dollhouse. Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Brandon, I can't be your girlfriend. I'm in love with someone else.
Who?
Steve Rogers.
You better get ready.
Steve! I have to talk to you.
Well, Steve is horny.
1995's Welcome to the Dollhouse tells the tale of Dawn Wiener, an awkward 7th grader who struggles to cope with inattentive parents, snobbish classmates, a smart older brother, an attractive younger sister, and her own insecurities in suburban New Jersey. Which is a very conservative take on the film.
Wiener dog!
And now that she's singing sound.
This flick introduced me to a raw harshness I had never seen on film before. Like, I remember staying up late nights in the 90s to catch this one on Sundance or IFC as a kind of shocking no cover your eyes affair that I had to watch all alone, but at the same time still relating very much to Dawn Wiener and a few other characters all the same. I'd have to say that the first 10 minutes of the film might be among my favorite first 10 minutes in any film ever, as right away we see that there will be a no-holds-barred kind of thematic fuckery going on here, and we're all along for the unfortunate ride with Dawn Wiener.
Finger fucked once last spring.
We had spent many weekends, the casting director and I, looking for kids in the malls in New Jersey. And we found ourselves banging our heads against the wall because when we were looking for 11, 12-year-old girls who seemed like they might be having a hard time at school, had that kind of a quality. The problem is those are precisely the kinds of kids that don't show up at open casting calls. Likewise, with the bullies, we were looking for these thug-like kids who hang out at the mall in these groups. And
one of my favorite characters in the flick is Steve Rogers, though, who is played by Eric Mabius flawlessly, I might add. A great actor who here was in his film debut, and unfortunately has kind of been rendered to the Hallmark Christmas movie wasteland for about a decade now. But whatever, he was also one of my favorite movies, Black Circle Boys. Watch all those videos after this one. I will link those in the comments. And here, in his debut, he is hilarious.
Hey, Steve, I think your singing was a little flat that time. Barry, why don't you play an A for Steve? You got that, Steve?
Fuck this shit.
Nothing in the movie actually happened to me, but it's as if it had. I feel very emotionally connected, not just to the main character, Dawn Wiener, but to the bully and to her older brother and so forth. And but at the same time, I couldn't have written this movie, of course, had I not had my life experience. Still, if this were a book, it certainly would not be a memoir. I suppose I'd have to say, just for the record, no, I was not a little girl. And I don't have a little sister, and so forth and so on.
And another place that the film cannot be overlooked is with its superbly perfect soundtrack. I'm serious, you just throw this on in your spare time, and within no time, you'll be dancing along with the Quadratics. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on about how much I love the film, about how much I love the director, about how much I love the soundtrack. But why don't we have our special, very special guest, Warren.
Stop calling me Warren. My name isn't fucking Warren.
I mean, Brendan Sexton III, come in and tell us all about his time on the film as he played the formidable Brendan McCarthy. 3 o'clock. Oof.
1994, I did my first feature film ever, which is Welcome to the Dollhouse. I would say I was very surprised and shocked as to that's how movies were made. I had no idea that directors or assistant directors actually called action and cut. I thought that was just myth. That was like something done in Bugs Bunny cartoons, and that there was an actual slate, you know, with black and white stripes on it and stuff like that. I was blown away by it, and so that was a real surprise to me. But I will say I was like incredibly lucky making films at that age, and incredibly lucky as to the success of those films. And I was spoiled, and I thought it was always going to be like that, you know, making good films that were successful or semi-successful with really cool people. And it's not always like that. It took me a while to learn that. Yeah, just out the gate, you know, cult classics. I was super, super blessed. Very rare to have a run like that. And it took me a while to realize how lucky and blessed I was. She and I both had peculiar childhoods and peculiar relationships with our parents, but they were supportive of us enough to thrust us into this weird little film that explores topics that are maybe a little too advanced for children our age, or for a lot of children our age. And I think because we so quickly adapted to those roles and so truthfully played those roles and honored those characters so much, you know, people really responded. But I will say she, at that time, I think was only 11 or 12 years old, and in some ways was very, very sheltered. Like growing up on Long Island, I grew up in New York City, and growing up in New York, you grow up pretty fast. So the film to me just seemed very realistic, and yeah, this is how kids talk to each other. But Heather didn't actually know what a lot of this stuff meant, which was really funny because her character didn't know what a lot of the stuff meant, and her character is trying to explore these things with other people in the film, and she's asking other characters what is like finger fucking and things like that, and which is hilarious. And you know, the actress Heather on set would be asking people things like, hey, how do lesbians have sex? And what is the C word? And someone would tell her what the C word is, and then she would say, oh, cunt, right. So what does cunt mean and what is a cunt? So she was perfectly casted in some ways.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to you.
My girlfriend and I, we will occasionally sing happy anniversary to each other. Anniversary is a classic. Welcome to the Dollhouse is a banger too, I'm not gonna lie. But there was a young second assistant director who at the time, I say he's young, but at the time he was twice my age because I was 14 and he was 28. And somehow we kept in touch, and I did a short film with him. After that, he just insisted that he wanted to keep on working with me, and he essentially wrote Hurricane Streets for me. Yeah, he definitely, for better or for worse, wanted to make his own films his way, and I think at that time you could.
Really, I have lived the dream. I think any young filmmaker aspires towards, and feeling just incredibly lucky.
As for Solange, he has been a force in the independent cinema landscape for decades now. And with films like this, and moreover, Happiness, well, he will not soon be forgotten. You can count on that. In the events of the sequel Palindromes, well, we see that Dawn Wiener, now at age 20, is much heavier, and eventually was kind of assaulted, if you will, and wound up pregnant. Then she decides to take her own life. Quite a rough ride for old Dawn Wiener. We see familiar faces here too, like her brother Mark.
Come on, I'll take you home.
I'm not going home.
Right. You'd rather be raped by a serial killer?
And it's even a point made in the film that Missy, the little sister, well, she didn't go to Dawn's funeral, the bitch. Although these aren't the main focus points of the film. And then in the hilarious film Wiener Dog, which also acts as, kind of a sequel, well, we see another story featuring Dawn. This time, she's played by Greta Gerwig, and we even have Brandon McCarthy return. This time, though, played by Kieran Culkin. Weird.
Hey, Wiener Dog.
She looks like you.
Thanks.
I'm going to Ohio tomorrow. Want to come along?
What's in Ohio?
Crystal meth.
And, in the films, we see different characters pop up here and there, like the father character shows up again and whatnot. Some worthwhile films, especially interesting if you want to just get a little deeper into the Dollhouse, if you will. I recommend them for sure.
So, you've founded your own chapter of the Special People's Club.
Hi, Heather.
Did everybody bring their diaries? Excellent. Who's first?
Very special thanks to Brendan Sexton III. You can hear my full interview with Brendan next Sunday on modsnapradio.com. Get the free ModSnap app in your Play Store right now. And tune in every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central to hang out with your boy Alex Staunch. Thanks for watching, everybody. And check out the rest of the Staunch on Film series. All reviews of forgotten or obscure classics featuring the actors and filmmakers who were there, link right above. Merry Christmas, Special People Club. Please give this video a like and a share, will ya?
Drop dead, lesbo!